Leo sat against a stone wall. The rock was cool against his shell. His legs were sprawled comfortably on the ground. He stared out into the near empty space of the illuminating light of the Technodrome's explosion. It felt like the Technodrome had been exploding forever. Its light never seemed to fade, and remained a constant sun in the dark and cold void Leo had become familiar with. Leo suspected that if Donnie had been here, he would have said something smart about how the physics of Dimension X would make large objects move in slower time. He coughed, covering his mouth with his hand. Leo gripped the photograph of his family softly, feeling it over with his fingers. He didn't look at it. He'd seen enough to know every detail. The simple comfort of it there, it was enough for him. He breathed in deeply and exhaled just as much, a soft smile on his face. The sound of metal on stone crept from the dark behind him, softly and slowly. In an instant, he felt the urge to jump up and run, to speed away and hide from the thing that chased him. But he didn't. Instead, his smile stretched further across his face. He knew who it was, and he was okay with it. He didn't turn as the steps got closer, stopping just next to him. "Not gonna run this time?" the crane asked. His voice was unforgettable to the turtle, but sounded almost disappointed. Leo let out a amused huff, then replied, "Sorry, I just got distracted by the view. It is a mighty craft, yes." Leo finally broke eye contact with the spacecraft. "Was a mighty craft," he said as he chuckled. Crane rolled his eyes. "As you are insistent to remind me." His clawed talons scratched the stone ground as he lowered himself, sitting next to the turtle. "Someone has to keep you humble," Leo smirked. "Humble is not really something the Crane are known for. Getting beat up by 4 teenage turtles isn't something they're known for either." "Well, they might be now," Leo teased. Crane took a breath. He stared at the Technodrome in silence for a moment. "Not quite a teenager anymore, are you?" Leo spun around to face them, then said, "Hey, I'm still younger than you, Bubblegum Face." "You do know I have no idea what bubblegum is." "Well, maybe if you hadn't tried to destroy the world, I could have shown you." They shot a look at the alien, followed by a wink. Krang huffed. "Maybe." The two sat in silence for a short time. They took in the light of the Technodrome. Its green and pink hues cast harsh shadows on the ground. The distant echoes of colossal metal structures banging against one another filled what they could have been a vacuum. Leo's cough cut their silence. "You and your brothers put up quite the battle. No inferiors have ever damaged the Technodrome like that before." Crane studied at the crumbling spacecraft, watched a chug finally separate. Leo crossed his arms behind his head and leaned back. "Of course we did. We had the best teacher." Leo brought the photo from beside his head. He felt his smile sink slowly. "I miss them," he said. "I would probably have forgotten what they all look like if I didn't have this." He took a breath. "I hope they didn't forgive me." "Oh, please. No one could forget someone as irritating as you." The turtle laughed again. "You have no idea how much you sound like Don sometimes. He's bad at compliments, too." "It wasn't a compliment." "Sure, whatever you say." Leo coughed roughly, took a moment to regain himself, looked back to the Technodrome, and then asked, "What about your family? Do you miss them?" He glanced to the side of the alien, trying to gauge his reaction. The crane's armor reflected the light, reminding Leo how just sharp and deadly it was. He had become too familiar with it. "They were weak, so they have no place in Krang's mind." "Not even a little?" Krang took some time to respond. He didn't look at the turtle as he thought. "They would have been useful. I wish they had survived too to build the Empire again." Leo covered his mouth to stifle his laughter. The alien spun, facing the beginning to wrinkle of the turtle, angrily spoke. And what is just so funny about? Nothing, nothing. He collected himself and breathed calmly. You're just bad at emotions that don't include anger. Emotions, Krang echoed. Krangs are not normal for emotions. Oh, I can tell. Don't worry. He looked down at the photo again, his family's smiling faces staring back at him. Do you ever figure out a way to escape here without the key? The Krang faced away. No. The sound of metal cut through the air. It took Leo with a sharp breath. So what'll you do now? The Krang's armor hummed medically, as if it was trying to find the correct answer to the turtle's question. He didn't find one. Leo swallowed hard, sniffled, smiled wider, and looked out at the floating ruins. Casey told us that Mikey opened a time portal in the future. Maybe present Mikey can do something like that. Get us out of here. Leo felt the sharp warmth on his back, then travel through his stomach. He hissed inward and clutched his muscles. His teeth bit against each other. I think you would have liked Mikey if you weren't trying to kill him. And Donnie is smart. I bet you two could have all kinds of nerd stuff to talk about. Leo's hand closed around the photo tightly. Something warm leaked in the corner of his mouth, dripping down his cheek. And Raph was almost big as you were back then. And that might be scary, but he's a big teddy bear. He gives hugs like them too. I wonder how big he's gotten. His voice strained to escape his lips, forcing its way out of his throat. The sharp feeling left him, but the warmth had stayed and filled the space. He gasped, slumping his back against the wall behind him. His eyes never left on the Technodrome's light. And April, you could have asked for a better big sister. His arms shook, and he could feel the photo in his hand and his nails digging into his palms. Splinter was the best dad. It is the best dad. Leo spit out something. He let it drop to his chin. He always knew how to fix us up, make us feel better, always there for us. The alien next to him placed his hand over the turtle's lightly. Then, without facing him, he said, In my home world, there are some who believe death is the powerful opinion, to be taken by such a worthy enemy as he was sent to the Krang god's world. Leo's body clenched. He wheezed out, Being a god doesn't sound like so bad. His breath became quicker, shakier. His eyes darted around the air, looking for nothing in peculiar. But a different tribe, Craig continued, believed death by an enemy was a curse, and that death by a friend was a blessing. Leo strained to speak. Krang have friends? We used to, once. Crane clenched his fist in the dirt. Which do you believe? Leo didn't hear what the alien said, if he had given an answer at all. Crane watched as the photograph left Leo's grasp, drifted up, and floated away into the void. He didn't turn his head. He didn't dare look at him. He found his hand wrapped around Leo's, his talons digging into the rock. Krang let out a long, deep breath. Then slowly and carefully he stood up and returned the way he came. The green and pink light turned orange.